I was traveling for work last year, and that meant spending a lot of time on the road. They gave me a rental car to use, which was a newer Ford Focus. Without boring you with too many details, I work for a bank, and I was training the staff in the small towns in my state. One night after work, I was driving to the next town, which was only a few hours away. By dusk, I was feeling too tired to continue, so I decided to stop for the night. When I looked it up on my phone, I found that there was a small motel along the highway, not far away. It looked like any other roadside motel, nothing fancy. It was just a low, single-story building with a neon sign and a mostly empty parking lot. At that point, I didn't care about the amenities. I just wanted a bed and a few hours of sleep before hitting the road again in the morning. After checking in, I got my key and headed to my room. It was overlooking the parking lot, and inside, it was pretty standard. There was one bed, an old TV, and a bathroom in the corner. I tossed my bag on the chair by the window, took a shower, and collapsed onto the bed. The day had been long, and I was looking forward to getting a decent night's sleep before work the next day. The parking lot was quiet when I came in. A few other cars were scattered around, but there wasn't much activity. I could see the occasional passing car on the highway, but other than that, it was dead quiet. I turned off the lights, got under the covers, and fell asleep almost immediately. But at around late night, I woke up to the sound of loud, frantic knocking on my door. It startled me awake, and for a second, I wasn't sure if it was real or part of a dream. But the knocking continued, so I sat up and tried to make sense of it. I glanced at the clock, feeling groggy and confused, but the sound didn't stop. Whoever it was showed no signs of giving up. Then I listened for any voices, but all I heard was the knocking. I got up, but I was still half asleep. And just then the knocking stopped. I still walked over to the door and looked through the peephole. Strangely, no one was there. I stood there for a moment, trying to figure out what was going on. I called out and asked who it was, but no one answered. I debated whether I should open the door or just ignore it, but curiosity got the better of me. I turned on the light and carefully opened the door, leaving the chain on. When I looked out, all I found was an empty walkway. I looked around, but there definitely wasn't anybody there. It wouldn't have been hard for someone to sneak around the corner and hide, but why? At that moment, I was pretty sure my mind was playing tricks on me. I had never had a dream so vivid before, though, so it was weird. Before going to bed, I took off the chain lock and opened the door all the way. The parking lot in front of me looked as it had when I first checked in. Nobody was there. I shut the door and locked it again. I tried to forget it and go back to sleep, but it was hard to ignore the strange feeling that someone was there. After a few minutes, I managed to calm down and convince myself it was nothing. But just as I was about to fall asleep again, the knocking came back, and it was just as loud as before. This time, I was sure that it was real. By then, I was mostly awake, and there was no way that it was in my head. I got up and walked to the window, then pulled back the curtain slightly to peek outside. That's when I saw him. There was a man standing about 5 car lengths away in the parking lot. He was just barely visible under one of the lights. He wasn't moving, just standing there, staring at my room. I couldn't make out his face from that distance, but the sight was creepy. I didn't know what to do because I couldn't really call the cops. In fact, I couldn't even prove that he was the one banging on my door. I grabbed my phone and called the front desk. The night clerk picked up, and I blurted out my story, probably sounding insane. The front desk guy said that he'd check it out, but it sounded like he didn't really take it seriously. I hung up and watched as the clerk came outside with a flashlight and scanned the area. But by the time he arrived, the man was gone. I didn't sleep much after that. I couldn't stop thinking about that man and why he'd been standing there, staring at my room. When the sun finally came up, I packed up my things as quickly as I could and checked out. I'm thankful that nothing really bad happened, but his intentions couldn't have been good. It was the middle of the night, and some random stranger was banging on my door. I still wonder what he would have done if I was stupid enough to open up for him.